So the Bible can be a pretty confusing book to read. So it's a mishmash of authors and writing styles. And I think if we're honest, it can feel like it's really boring, black and white film, like totally irrelevant for our time today. But I actually think that the Bible is this beautiful, vibrant, colourful book. And so what I want to do is... Oh no, I need to start again. Sorry, there's a huge bit that I've missed. Try again. The Bible can be a pretty confusing book to read. There's a load of different authors. There's a mishmash of writing styles. And I think if we're honest, it can feel like a really boring and irrelevant black and white film. But actually, I think that the Bible is this beautiful book, a massive, complex but simple story, of which you and I have a huge part to play. And so what I want to do is show you what that story is. See, right at the beginning, when God created the earth, he created you and I, he created humans in Adam and Eve. And it says in the Bible that we're made in his image. So if you think about it, if we're created in his likeness and God is creative, then we are inherently creative. You and I are creative. And I don't just mean people who paint or create music or shoot videos or graphic design. Not just that kind of creativity. In fact, when we look at what God says to man and woman for the first time, he says this. After he says, it is very good, he says this: now go prosper, reproduce, fill the earth, take charge. In other words, go and create. But create what? Because when I look at the world today, I don't see a whole lot of good creation going on. There's slavery that still exists, knife and gun crime is on the rise, people seemingly getting innocently shot just for the colour of their skin. And that's just a snapshot of where we're at in the world. So that doesn't look like a great job that humanity is doing at creating something. And so why are we doing such a bad job? Well, I'd argue that it's because we, humanity, you and I, are broken. See, just after God created Adam and Eve, God's original plan was to partner with them in doing that, in creating. But rather than partnering with God, Adam and Eve chose to go it alone. They tried to do it on their own. And so because of that, when God found out, Adam and Eve became separated from God. And so from then on in, God was on this redemption plan of getting humanity back into relationship with him. And so after trying to do that with Noah and Moses, Abraham and Israel, enter Jesus. Jesus moves in onto the scene. He moves into the community to live in and around the world. God is now with us. It was through Jesus' death and resurrection that we are now able to be in relationship with God again. But why? What's the purpose in that? What's the point? Well, when we look at the end of the story, we've been at the beginning in Genesis. When we look at the end in Revelation, we see this. It reads this: look, God has moved into the neighborhood, making his home with men and women. They're his people. He is their God, and he'll wipe every tear from their eyes. Death is gone for good, tears gone, crying gone, pain gone. And so that's the end of the story. This is where we're heading. But what about now? Well, now we're in relationship with God because of what Jesus did on the cross. And so that we can join with him on his redemptive mission. See, God wants to partner with you and with me in redeeming this world that is still broken. Are you up for that? See, for me, when I look at the life of Jesus, I see a guy who left, right and centre walked into the world. He was sent from God and sent into the world. And so if me and you are created in the image of God, then we as an identity are sent. Which leads me to think this. We need to start thinking about this question, how we answer this. What does it look like for you and me, as uniquely gifted as we are, to extend God's kingdom where we are? And that's a really hard question to answer, so here's what I'd love you to do. Why not today just take some time to list some of the needs of the people that you know? And then after that, ask yourself this question: what has God given me? This can be anything from a unique gifting or character trait within you. Or it could be something that's a little bit more practical. If you find this hard, then maybe ask someone else who knows you really well to tell you what God's given you. And once you've got these written down, just sit with them in prayer and ask God, what does it look like for me to extend your kingdom where I am? So here's an example of what it might look like. Imagine you are an incredible mathematician. What I would be saying to you is this: perhaps you are to give up maybe one of your lunch times once a month to help those that don't yet know how to do maths. That's radical, something that teachers would do, but perhaps God's calling you to do that. That's kingdom to me, and that's what I believe God's called you to do, to join with him in his redemptive plan for this world.